Hello everybody, something a bit different today, something a bit special. I'm here with Kristian Harloff, one half of the Schmoes Know. He's also a Collider video and host of one of my favourite podcasts, Jedi Council. Now we thought with The Force Awakens finally hitting cinemas and both of us being massive Star Wars fans, now's as good a time as any to sit down and speculate on what we think might happen on the upcoming sequel. So the first half of this video is going to be on my channel, obviously, and the second half will then be over at the Schmoes, which I will link at the end of this video and below, so definitely check that out at the end. Kristian, thank you for agreeing to be a part of this.
Yeah, of course, man. I'm a big fan of yours as well. So we've been talking about doing it. We finally get to do it. Let's speculate.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Now, I thought before we start, why don't we, I know you've talked about this to death and so have I, but what are your general thoughts on episode 7, just for those who might not know?
Well, it's funny though, too, because the first time I saw The Force Awakens, I said to myself, I liked it, and I liked it a lot. But I guess there was so much to process and so much to take in, and maybe so many ideas that I had of my own from speculating over the last year on Jedi Council, figuring what we were going to see, that I left, I think, going, all right, let's see what I thought. And then I went back and I saw it again, and I found that the more and more you watch the movie and the more and more you go with the experience that J.J. Abrams kind of provided, there is a rehash factor or a homage, I'll say, to episode 4. There's no doubt about that. But the movie gets significantly better for me every time I've watched it, and I've seen it 4 times.
4 times, awesome. Exactly. I tried to kind of wipe my mind clean going in, because the same with you. I've been talking about this. I feel like, but since Return of the Jedi, really, or not that I was alive when that happened. So you're right. You're going with these preconceived ideas, and there's no real way that movie can kind of match that expectations. But that being said, it's just kind of a great ride, and I feel it's a great kind of jumping off point for the series in general. Yeah, like he is really the king of kind of kicking off a series.
He is, for sure. I mean, and I think that he set the tone really well. Exactly what we wanted to see again. It was more set in the vein of the original trilogy than say the prequels, and that's, I think, what fans have been excited to see. And I think that Rian Johnson's going to have a lot of fun kind of continuing this tone. Absolutely.
So were there any elements of it that disappointed you though?
Yeah, I mean, I've accepted it a little bit more after seeing it a few times, but the Rathgar scene I could probably do without. It seems that of a different movie. But it definitely doesn't bother me as much as it did like the first time. I think I would have liked to see a little bit more explanation of where the New Republic and how the First Order kind of came to be. I think they got scared with how much politics was in the prequels and how that kind of, some people didn't like that they stayed away from explaining too much. But I think we needed a little bit more explanation as to where we were in the galaxy politics-wise.
That's right. It feels like they just went the complete opposite. Like no politics, nothing. They barely show like a city planet, which isn't Coruscant, it turns out. And that's pretty much it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
No, you got to learn all the information about where the New Republic is. You got to learn from the visual dictionary from The Force Awakens. That's how you learn more than they gave you in the film.
That's it. And I found the same thing because I going through the audiobook. I found the same thing. It fills in a lot of those blanks. Even like the names of planets, because a lot of them they've just cut and paste from the original movies, like looks wise, but they've just kind of renamed them. Like Tatooine is now Jakku and whatever. So I thought maybe that was a bit unnecessary. Well, like why not just make it a slightly different looking desert planet? But all in all, for all the anticipation that was built up by everybody over the years, what an amazing achievement that he pulled it off. That it's as good as it is. It's incredible. Yeah. What are your thoughts though on J.J. Abrams not directing episode 8? Are you happy with him kind of stepping aside? And
I wouldn't say I'm happy with him stepping aside, but I also welcome a Star Wars where Rian Johnson is directing. So I think that, again, to just kind of reiterate what I was saying, to where JJ is setting the tone, and he has set the tone. I actually asked him this. I was lucky enough I interviewed him before the movie came out. I'd like to see him do a television show. I'd like to see J.J. Abrams bring to Netflix the Star Wars universe the way he brought it back to film.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'd like to see him doing. He's executive producing. He's already been in talks with Rian Johnson. He's been collaborating with him as far as furthering the story of Episode 8. So he's going to have his vision still there. So and no one said that Star Wars is going to stop at Episode 9. So we still could see another, whether it be saga film or the anthology film.
What kind of makes me I don't want to use the word glad, but I'm kind of okay with him stepping aside, is if you look at Star Trek as opposed to Star Trek Into Darkness, it's a bit of a misstep. And I know I'm not the only one who kind of feels that way. And having somebody kind of fresh come on board, and someone who's got a bit of an edge like Rian Johnson, he's perfect for a kind of a follow up with maybe a darker tone, maybe a bit of a twist. I feel like that kind of he'd slot into that nicely. I mean, it's all speculation, obviously, but that's kind of why I feel like I'm okay with that.
That's why you absolutely bring Rian Johnson in, because you're doing what Kirshner did with Empire Strikes Back. You're bringing in a guy who directed some of the best episodes of Breaking Bad, as well as movies like Looper and Brick, and you're bringing him into the Star Wars universe. And I don't want to see another homage to Episode 4. In Episode 8. I want to see some brand new darker tones, because you have to be. It's, with whether it be Rey with discovering more about her past, and with Kylo Ren, where he's going to go. So that's the guy you want helming it, is Rian Johnson.
That's exactly it. So do you think there's any chance it will follow the same beats as Empire? Like, I feel like that we're probably going to get, your training for both for Kylo Ren and Rey. Oh, we should say spoiler alert for Episode 7 as well, just in case.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's seen it, but... Yeah.
If you're clicking on the video as far as questions for Episode 8 are going and forward, you should know that you should probably have seen Episode 7. Yeah, but I do think they'll follow beats, and I think that it's intentional. I think that both Kathleen Kennedy, J.J. Abrams, and the other Lucas, the story group, I think that it's intentional that they want to mimic. This new trilogy wants to mimic the original trilogy, and not beat by beat, but to where, like, the tonally, where you're going to go to, where you're going to have that kind of fantasy, over the top, good feel. The good guys won in Episode 4, to the bad guys winning into 5, but I think they might spin it on their head in Episode 9, and we might get an actual victory by the bad guys in 9. But we'll see.
I'm doubt we're going to get kind of an Ewok kind of picnic at the end of Episode 9. I'd be very surprised, but hey, you never know. Do you think there's any chance that we'll be getting another super weapon at some point in this trilogy?
I hope not.
Yeah, that was one of the things that worried me. Seeing that on the poster, I was like, I don't know about that. Is that really necessary?
I think that, going back to the question you asked me earlier, as far as did I have any disappointments, it was, and like, I don't have a problem with the homage to Episode 4, but I do think they could have done something else than, instead of like a bigger Death Star. Really,
I think you could have had an Imperial fleet, like anything like that. But I can kind of see why they did it, and it didn't really hurt the movie, but you've even got people at one point being like, so it's another Death Star, it's, so they kind of acknowledge it, that it's kind of stupid and whatever, but
right. But I don't think they're certainly not gonna do that in Episode 9, because it'll be lazy filmmaking, and I don't think that's lazy filmmaking and Rian Johnson don't go hand in hand.
No, that you're absolutely right. So what do you think the new threat will be?
Benicio del Toro. Now, whatever he's doing, I don't know. Is he a Knight of Ren? Is he a Sith? Is he Admiral Thrawn? Who knows?
Yeah, I'm hoping for some kind of Admiral Thrawn-esque kind of Imperial officer, but it's really hard to say at this point. I can't imagine him kind of painting himself blue and doing that. But hey, you never. Oh, he did what did he do in Guardians? He stepped right up for that. So yeah, you never know. So you think whatever role that is, whatever that ends up being, then that's...
I think he's going to have a lot to do, and I think that he's going to be more on par with Snoke, the way Tarkin was.
Right. Yeah.
If you look at Hux is a bit of he's kind of sniveling, and and he's really not a guy that has that authority. He's just screaming and yelling the whole time. As where I think that Benicio del Toro, if you saw him in Sicario, can bring in an air of terror just by being. And I think that that's what you need from the next kind of villain that's going to appear, and he certainly is going to be that guy. But I'd like him to be an opposing threat, like you were saying before, with like a fleet. It'd be really cool to see what else the First Order has in store for us, and what better way to have a guy like a Thrawn type who's running it.
Absolutely. And with Rey and Luke, how do you think that's going to go? Do you think she'll he'll climb on her back and she'll do somersaults through a forest or whatever?
Maybe that'd be interesting. It'd be good. No, I think I certainly think we're going to learn the history of what it is between these two, because in the original script that was released, I guess from when they put it up for awards, the original script came out, and it clearly says that Luke recognized her and knew who she was.
Yep.
Let's find out who she was and exactly what it is. Is she his daughter? Is she a student of his that he hid? I certainly think it's going to be like a Knights of the Republic thing. Had a mind wipe like Revan.
Right. Yep.
That's why she was so powerful.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, she did. She seemed to have, as soon as her mind got unlocked, it was on. The theory that I'm putting the most weight behind at the moment is that she's Obi-Wan Kenobi's granddaughter, and I know you think that that's probably not the case. So, do you have anything that you're leaning towards in particular?
I think that she's Luke's daughter, and I think that the reason why is because I think that we can't have one Skywalker offspring that's just evil, and that's
okay.
Because it's a Skywalker story. It always has been. Leia and Luke are the last Skywalkers for now, and now you got Ben Solo, who is a Skywalker, but he's evil, and whether or not he turns to the light, who knows? But we also don't know if there's any other Solo kids out there. There might be, so he may not be the only Skywalker, but as far as we know, he is. I would like to see her be of the Skywalker lineage, but the Obi-Wan theory is not crazy. It's a matter of they've have way more explaining to do because
that's exactly it. And simplicity is the name of the game for this new trilogy, isn't it?
Because in Clone Wars, in the Clone Wars series, he definitely had feelings for Satine.
Yep.
And there was that great storyline there in the Mandalorians. It would be interesting if they linked that back somehow, but I think that's asking a lot of the audience who doesn't follow the other canon besides the movies.
That's right. See, the reason I think that it might be the case, and look, to be honestly, I'm 50-50 on it, but he wasn't a Jedi for such a long time, for 19 years or so. And if they're doing a Kenobi spin-off movie, which they might, which I'd love to see.
I'd love to see it.
But then maybe that's something that will be fleshed out. So maybe if it is revealed that she's a Kenobi, the next spin-off movie or the one after, whatever, is that kind of generates more interest with Obi-Wan Kenobi, how that all came to be. But
and the other argument towards that theory is that in that Force vision, you hear Kenobi say, he calls out to her, he says, Rey, and then he says, these are her first steps.
That's right.
I happen to think that I think Ewan McGregor is going to return as a Force ghost, and he's going to be with Luke on the island. So I think they're kind of working in unison together.
Do you think we'll be getting the Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker hybrid ghost thing that they nearly put in Episode 7?
No, I don't think you'll get that version, but I certainly think you'll get something from Anakin. Yeah. And I think that whether it be a hologram or whether Kylo Ren is studying, him killing of whether it's the younglings or whatever, watching other things that he's done in his career that
I'm completely for Hayden Christensen coming back and doing something. Look, I know he gets a bad rap, but I feel like a lot of those movies aren't his fault. He was pretty young and he got some terrible dialogue, thrust upon him. So if he comes back, great. If it serves the story, why not?
I'm with you. And terrible dialogue and terrible direction. Luke is not good actors, and so when you have someone like Rian Johnson who's leading this kid, then maybe it could be something good. We got a special guest here.
Oh, I have a toy Yoda I'm holding right now, and I think Yoda is definitely going to come back in Episode 8 too.
That would be amazing. Are you kidding me? Do you want CGI Yoda or puppet Yoda? What do you lie on that?
Keep Frank Oz away from a Star Wars set, kids. He's coming back, and everybody's going to enjoy him. I'm sorry I can't be a bigger part of this podcast, but I downloaded all my Star Wars desires to Kristian so he can share them.
No stress.
I said it was Mr. Mark Ellis.
This was actually...
Sorry, I should have introduced you. Yeah, Mark Ellis, how you doing?
This is me as a Force ghost, so enjoy the rest of the show.
I'm sorry for your loss.
He only comes when I'm doing podcasts or I'm going to blow up Death Stars.
Oh, good. Well, that's good time as any. On the flip side of that, who do you think... what do you think's going to be happening with Kylo and Snoke? Do you think we'll also get kind of a training montage? Like they're both kind of doing a Rocky 3.
Like Rocky?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so you got one happening and one happening somewhere else?
No, I think by the time that we get back to Episode 8, I think some years are going to have passed, or maybe whether it's a year or two. And I think that Kylo's kind of going towards the route of the Sith. And I think that we may get some sort of training, but I think his training was killing Han Solo. That was part of it. And I know that they want to complete. Snoke says to him, I want to complete his training. Or I think he's going to be a lot more evil and a lot more less whiny coming into Episode 8. But I still want to learn more about their relationship. But Snoke needs to be developed and explained a lot more.
All right, so that's the end of part 1, but luckily it doesn't stop here. If you head over to the Schmoes Know YouTube channel, you can check out part 2. But before you do that, Kristian, is there anything you want to plug?
If you guys aren't watching Schmoes Know, make sure you do that. You can check obviously part of the thing that we're talking about here is on Schmoes Know, and then you can also check me out on Collider Jedi Council on Collider Videos, as well as Fandango.
Absolutely. And people can find me at the Weekly Planet on the Weekly Planet podcast and Mr. Sunday Movies YouTube channel. All right, thanks, mate.